In a world where war decides everything, two minds were forced to survive in completely different ways. One chose to think, the other struggled to live with what he did. Armin and Bertholdt. What's good, folks? We back. First, let's talk about Armin. So when he was younger, he was getting bullied, picked on, and he couldn't really fight back. But where his strength actually came from was his mind. Cause this man, he always thinking 10 steps ahead while everybody else is just reacting to what's happening around them. And he's not just smart, he actually cares. Like, what I mean is he really cares about the people around him and what happens to them. And the perfect example of that is when this man went up against the Colossal Titan. This man literally held on while his entire body was burning, just about time for air. Like, think about that. He was ready to sacrifice himself so that everybody else could live. But before he even attempted that, before he even tried anything, he tried to negotiate with Bertholdt to find a way to avoid death, just because it's been around him for so long that he's really tired of it. And that kind of shows you another layer to him. Like, even his enemies, listen, he's not just one to chop down his enemies without a thought. He tries his best to try to resolve conflict without violence, and he might be one of the few characters to even do that in Attack on Titan in a world that's so messed up. But listen, that passion and that care that he had for others, that never left him after he got power, because when he becomes the Colossal Titan, he didn't just start booming on everybody like he big and bad now. No, he actually used it strategically. He really thought before he acted, and in a world like Attack on Titan, that's kinda rare, because if you really look at his position, it was a position of power that could have really changed somebody, especially when you think about everything that Armin went through. And now that he got power, hey, he could have ended up like Eren Yeager. He could have ended up like him, but he didn't let it get to his head, and you can see that he still cared about people, and he cared about people more than he cared about himself. Now let's talk about Bertholdt. Now this man, he was the Colossal Titan before Armin, and the difference is you could see that he didn't want any part of what was happening. Like, unlike Rainer, who believed in the mission, Bertholdt, he always felt off about it. This man, he was quiet, he stayed to himself, and deep down you could tell that he felt guilty the whole time. Like, he knew what he was doing was wrong, but he just had to accept what he had done, and he ain't asked for that life, and he wasn't even chasing it. But once he was in it, the guilt that ate up, it just kept eating him up. And you could see, listen, that's why he always had that sad face, because he always looked a little bit depressed. That man was going through it because the guilt, it was eating him up inside. And the thing that makes this even more depressing for Bertholdt is that after he went through all this, after he already boomed this place, listen, he was taught that these people were just evil. These people were just the scum of the earth. And then he got to sneak in and be a scout. Just because he gets to spend time with the people that they were fighting and really get to build a connection with them. And no matter what this man do, he ain't never going to be able to bring back their fallen loved ones. And it's really just a product of war, but at the same time, he's the one who took their life. So it's going to build on him even more. And this is where I think, this is why I'm comparing them. Because both of them had to watch their best friend break. Like, with Armin, you see Eren slowly losing himself, turning into somebody he don't even recognize anymore. Just destroying everything around him. And not only that, he sees his mental just deteriorating. And I feel like that really messes with you a lot more than people would give it credit for. Because when you see somebody you care go through something and change like that, you see them just have a mental breakdown and become a completely different person. That's something extreme. And on the other side, you got Bertholdt, who basically watched Rainer completely lose himself. Now what I mean by that is, listen, Rainer, he wasn't on Eren Yeager level, but he definitely changed a lot. Because Bertholdt, he had to watch Rainer develop a split personality disorder. He really had to watch his friend go to a mental breakdown. And all he could do was sit there and watch it happen. So in a way, they both went through the same thing, just on a different side. And I feel like that's really a heartbreaking thing to think about, because everybody see Eren Yeager. Yes, he went through a lot. He went through a whole bunch, and you see that he went through an entire breakdown, but nobody ever really talked about what Armin was going through. How did it feel to see your best friend, the person you grew up with, just break down like that? This man Bertholdt, he had to go through the same thing. And it really showed in how he portrayed himself, how he acted, and how he talked. You could really see that in Bertholdt's personality. And over the course of it all, you get to see that Bertholdt finally start to break down. But not only Bertholdt break down, Armin did as well. Even though Armin, he did keep it together, he didn't lose his entire sanity like Jaeger. But he did lose a part of himself, and you could see that he was starting to get depressed. He was starting to almost resemble Bertholdt in a way. Not just because they both got the big boom boom titan, but because they went through that same struggle. They went through that same pain, and in a way I feel like they really could understand each other. Because they both hit that point where they were like, I don't even know if I want to keep going. But neither of them stopped. Like, listen, nobody ever gave up. Bertholdt, he kept fighting for what he believed in. And what he believed in was friendship. Because he didn't want to see his friend die. And think about it, what this really meant for this man. He had to carry all the weight of the people's lives he affected. And every action this man took, every choice he made, it had consequences that he had to live with. And there was no taking it back. And it wasn't just about him surviving, it was about him trying to keep himself together mentally and physically. And deep down you can see that this man, he's trying to do the right thing, but the world just won't let him. At the end of the day, they both were really fighting for something. And Armin, he was fighting for the future, for something better. But Bertholdt, he just really couldn't escape what he did, and that guilt stayed with him through his entire life. And that's the difference between Armin and Bertholdt. Two people thrown into the same war and forced to fight for something that they don't even fully understand. But it changed them in completely different ways, because you see one learned to live with it and the other one never could. But listen, when I actually think about it, these folks, listen, Armin and Bertholdt, they could have literally boomed on everybody. Because the Colossal Titan, hey, is built different. So I'm just imagining, what if somebody else had it? It would have been crazy. And if you think about it, someone like Levi, in that same position, this man, he would have handled it completely differently. But I feel like that's a story for another deep dive. If you like this video, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to. And listen, I did a deep dive on Eren Yeager and Rainer Braun. If you want to see that, definitely click right here, because it's a great video, I promise you. But with that being said, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want it, and it's all still over. Hit the subscribe.